Hi everyone, this is again Teacher Will. Welcome back to our Statistics and Probability subject. For today's video lesson, we will learn of the elements of hypothesis testing, and that includes the hypothesis, the tail test, rejection region, and the type of errors. Let's start. Have you, at a certain time, asked yourself how you could possibly decide to put a business in place and gain your expected profit? Or wonder if a judge in a trial could have given a wrong decision in determining who's guilty? Or think of if your classmates' average weight differs significantly among your age? Or imagine how a newly discovered medicine is being tested for a human treatment. So this lesson will help you make sound decision in dealing with this kind of situations. Let's begin by defining what is a hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing is a statistical method applied in making decisions using experimental data. It is basically testing an assumption that we make about a population. So it is generally known as our decision-making process for evaluating our claims or these assumptions about a population based on the characteristics of a sample purportedly coming from that population. And that claims or the assumption is what we call our hypothesis. And hypothesis is defined as a proposed explanation, assertion, or assumption about a population parameter or about the distribution of a random variable. Here are some examples of questions that we can answer with hypothesis tests. Una, does the mean height of grade 12 students differ from 66 inches? Do male and female grade 7 and grade 12 students differ in height on average? And is the proportion of senior male students' height significantly higher than that of senior female students? Ayan. So, itong mga questions na to, we can have a sound conclusion or decision using a hypothesis testing. So, sabi nga natin kanina, itong mga hypothesis natin na ito ay mga claims about our population. At syempre, kapag sinabi nating population, yung mga data natin is what we call our parameters. So, tingnan natin kung ano ba yung mga parameter dito sa bawat questions na ito. So, una, ang parameter natin dito is mean. Ayan, so mean po ang gamit. Gayon din dito sa second question, average, which is mean as well. And dito naman sa ating last na question, ang ating parameter naman ay proportion. Ayan. Hypothesis testing is a process. Kaya may mga kailangan muna tayong pag-aralan ng mga key terms and concepts na ginagamit natin sa hypothesis testing. Ayan. So in hypothesis testing, there are always two hypotheses. And these are the null and alternative hypothesis. And of course, we cannot have a 100% bet in testing hypothesis. Kaya dyan natin may encounter naman yung ating level of significance. And our hypothesis predicts not only the difference of our sample statistics from our population parameter, but also how it would be different in specific direction. Kaya dyan papasok po natin o may encounter yung mga field test natin. And another part of hypothesis testing is determining if our hypothesis is probably true or statistically significant. And to be able to do that, dyan papasok naman yung rejection region na tinatawag natin. Sabi nga natin kanina, hypothesis testing is a decision-making process. Kaya may four possible decisions or outcomes tayo ng hypothesis testing. And that includes committing these two errors. So, mas maiintindihan pa natin itong mga terminologies na to or mga concepts na to as we go on dito sa ating lessons. Ayan, so let's proceed. So, let's begin with this first key terms or concept. We have the null and alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis is our initial claim based on previous analysis. So, kung meron na tayong mga previous data or previous study, yun yung magsisilbi nating initial claim. At yun po ay yung ating magsisilbing null hypothesis. So, ito yung gusto nating i-disprove i-reject, or i-nullify. And this null hypothesis shows no significant difference between two parameters. It is denoted by this H sub O. And of course, as a contrary to null hypothesis, ay ang ating namang alternative hypothesis, which shows that the observation are the result of a real effect. So, itong alternative hypothesis kasi natin na ito yung ating tinetest na kung saan we are hoping na ma-prove natin siyang totoo. And if yung null hypothesis natin shows a no significant difference, ito namang ating alternative hypothesis shows a significant difference. Ayan. It is denoted by HA or H sub A. Kahit ano. Basta yan po yung kanyang symbol. So let's have some examples para mas maintindihan pa natin yung pinagkaiba nitong null hypothesis at alternative hypothesis. The school record claims that the mean score in math of the incoming grade 11 students is 81. The teacher wishes to find out if the claim is true. She tests if there is a significant difference between the batch mean score and the mean score of the students in her class. Yan. So, yung magiging hypothesis natin dito ay, yan, ang null hypothesis natin is the mean score of the incoming grade 11 students is 81. Ayan yung initial claim natin. Ito yung previous na data natin. Ayan, yung galing kay school report. And in simple, that is mean equal to 81. And syempre, contrary to null hypothesis, ang alternative hypothesis natin, the mean score of the incoming grade 11 students is not 81. Or the mean is not equal to 81 in simples. Ayan po siya. Or pwede rin naman natin i-state ng ganito. Ayan. So, the mean score of the incoming grade 11 students has no significant difference with the mean of her students. Ayan. Population mean natin is equal to the sample mean. So, wala silang pinagkaiba. There is no significant difference. While yung ating alternative hypothesis naman, the mean score of the incoming grade 11 students has a significant difference with the mean score of her students. Or pwede natin isulat in notation yan. So, since meron siyang significant difference, ibig sabihin, hindi siya equal. Kaya ganyan yung simple. Population mean is not equal to the sample mean. Another example, according to a survey, the average daily usage of social media worldwide of global internet users amounts to 142 minutes per day. Sophia conducts her own survey among her friends to find out if their time spent on social media is the same as the global average usage. And so, tingnan natin kung ano yung ating null hypothesis at alternative hypothesis. The average daily usage of social media of her friends is the same as the global average usage. Ayan. So, equal to 142. So, equal lang siya. And yung alternative naman natin, the average daily usage of social media of her friends is not the same as the global average usage. Ayan. Mean is not equal to 142. Ayan. So, again, yung initial claim kasi natin, yung nandito sa null hypothesis. Since ang previous data is 142, so sa null hypothesis natin, i-state natin dun na equal din. Ayan, same siya. So, sa alternative hypothesis, dun natin sasabihin nga na hindi naman siya the same. Ayan, not the same or not equal. Ayan. Okay. Or pwede rin natin state as this. The average daily usage of social media of her friends has no significant difference with the global average usage. Ayan. So, kapag null hypothesis, no significant difference. At kapag alternative hypothesis naman, ayan, the average daily usage of social media of her friends has a significant difference with the global average usage. Or in symbol, ayan po siya. Okay? Another key terms of hypothesis testing is the level of significance. And so, the level of significance denoted by alpha, or, ayan po yung symbol, kakalimutan, refers to the degree of significance in which we accept or reject the null hypothesis. So, sabi ko nga kanina, 100% accuracy is not possible in accepting or rejecting a hypothesis. This significance level, ayan, or alpha, is also the probability of making the wrong decision when the null hypothesis is true. So, yung most common levels of significance na ginagamit natin sa research ay 1%, 5%, and 10%. Kung maaalala ninyo dun sa mga previous discussions natin, may tinatawag tayong confidence level. Ito yung kung saan confident tayo na tama yung estimate natin about the population. Ayan. So, yung kabaliktaran naman po noon ay yung tinatawag nating levels of significance na kung saan hindi tayo confident na ma-accept yung ating true null hypothesis. Okay, so let's have some examples or illustrations para mas maintindihan ninyo yung ating levels of significance. Maria uses 5% level of significance in proving that there is no significant change in the average number of enrollees in the 10 sections for the last 2 years. So, meaning yung chance na yung ating true null hypothesis would be rejected is 5%. So, ito po siya. So, actually, yung 0.05 na yan, o yung alpha natin, is the area under our normal curve within the rejection region. Ayan po. So, maiintindihan niyo pa kung ano yung rejection region mamaya. Okay? So, another, if Sophia used a 0.10 level of significance, what are the chances that she would have a wrong conclusion if the two values have no significant difference? So, ibig sabihin lang po na that the chance that she would have a wrong conclusion if the two values have no significant difference is 5%. Ayan. Mamaya maiintindihan niyo palalo kung bakit nga ba wrong conclusion siya. Okay? Right, so another key term of hypothesis testing is two-tailed test and one-tailed test. When the alternative hypothesis o yung HA natin is two-sided, like this, ayan po, two-sided siya, not equal, it is called two-tailed test. And when the given statistic hypothesis assumes a less than or greater than value, ito naman yung one-tailed test. Okay, so yung kapag yung alternative hypothesis daw natin is not equal or two-sided siya, two-tailed. Pero kapag yung alternative hypothesis natin assumes a less than or greater than value, one-tailed naman siya. Okay, so let's have an example para mas ma-visualize po ninyo. The school registrar believes that the average number of enrollees this school year is not the same as the previous school year. Let M sub 0 be the average number of enrollees last year. Again, ito yung previous data natin. So, this will be our initial claim o yung ating null hypothesis din siya. So, equal. Siyempre, in contrary, yung ating alternative hypothesis naman ay not equal. And since yung alternative hypothesis natin ay not equal, ibig sabihin, two-tailed test itong ating example na to. Ayan. So, kung ipapakita natin sa illustration, ayan, dalawang tailed po yung area na kung saan ay maaari po tayong magkaroon ng wrong decision. Ayan siya. So, ayan. So, if the alternative hypothesis uses this symbol not equal, use a two-tailed test. Okay, next. Yeah, so if the school registrar believes that the average number of enrollees this school year is less than the previous school year, then we will have, ayan. So, yung naka-hypothesis natin, again, equal po siya from the previous year. Then, so, alternative hypothesis natin ay less than. So, hindi siya equal. Okay po? So, hindi siya equal at less than daw po siya. Kaya, yun po yung ating alternative hypothesis. At kapag less than po siya, ito po ay one-tailed test. Ayan. So, specifically, yung ating one-tailed test is a left-tailed test. Ayan. So, yung ating level of significance ay nandito po sa left. Use the left-tailed when our alternative hypothesis contains the symbol ito. Ayan. So, kapag less than, ito po yung ating illustration. Or nandito po yung ating alpha. Okay? Next. Okay. If the school registrar believes that the average number of enrollees this school year is greater than the previous school year, then you will have, ayan, so greater than naman daw po siya. So, again, yung ating null hypothesis ay equal po siya. And yung alternative naman natin is greater than. At kapag greater than daw po yung alternative hypothesis natin, nagamit po tayo ng one-tailed test. Specifically, a right-tailed test. Ayan. So, ito po yung illustration niya na kung saan ang alpha po natin ay nasa right tail. So, use the right tail when our alternative hypothesis contains the symbol greater than. Okay? So, para malaman natin kung one-tailed o two-tailed siya, babase lang po natin sa ating alternative hypothesis. Kung yung alternative hypothesis natin ay not equal ang symbol, so ibig sabihin two-tailed siya. Kapag naman less than or greater than, one-tailed siya. At kapag less than daw po, left tail. At kapag greater than symbol, that is right tail. Okay? So, another key terms of hypothesis testing naman is the rejection region. So, the rejection region or the critical region is the set of all values of the test statistics that causes us to reject the null hypothesis. Ayan. So, yung critical region po natin o yung rejection region natin, yun yung area na kung saan mafo-fall na mare-reject po natin yung ating null hypothesis. Ayan. So, in contrary, of course, yung non-rejection region o yung acceptance region natin is the set of all values of the test statistics that causes us to fail to reject the null hypothesis. Hindi natin, we cannot reject the null hypothesis kapag yung test statistics natin is nasa non-rejection region. Okay? And the critical value is a point or the boundary on the test distribution that is compared to the test statistics to determine if the null hypothesis would be rejected. Ayan. So, yung critical value, yan yung pinakamahalaga kasi yan po yung compare natin sa test statistics natin. At dyan tayo mababase ng ating decision kung mare-reject na ba o hindi ang ating null hypothesis. So, again, ito po yung boundary. Ayan. So, kung titingnan niyo po dito sa illustration natin, so, yung critical value natin, ayan po siya. Siya po yung point o yung value na naghihiwalay sa ating rejection region at sa ating non-rejection region or yung acceptance region natin. Yan. So, ito yung shaded area na to. Ito yung ating rejection region. So, kung yung test statistics natin ay magpo-fall dito, ibig sabihin, kailangan natin i-reject yung null hypothesis. Pero kung magpo-fall naman dito sa region na to, yung ating non-rejection region, ibig sabihin, hindi natin pwedeng i-reject yung ating null hypothesis. Okay? So, itong critical value na to, napakahalaga to, nagagamitin natin to compare doon sa ating test statistics. Okay? So, syempre, para makuha itong critical value na to, gagamit po tayo ng mga tables. Table of values. Ayan, makikita ninyo, nagagamit din tayo dyan ng itong table na to that deals with Z distribution at itong table na to that deals with T distribution. Ayan. So, mas ma-discuss pa po natin yan sa mga susunod na lessons natin. Okay? Ayan. So, this is an example ng illustration ng ating mga rejection region. Ayan. So, itong shaded again is our rejection region. At kung mapapansin nyo, meron tayong value ng critical value dito. At meron tayong value ng test statistics dito. Ayan. So, di-discuss pa natin kung paano makompute yung test statistics na yan sa mga susunod na video natin. So, kung titingnan nyo lang dito, ayan, hindi siya nag-fall dito sa rejection region. So, ibig sabihin po yan, ang decision natin dyan, hindi natin pwedeng i-reject ang ating null hypothesis kasi nandito siya sa acceptance region. Ayan. And ito rin, ayan, ito yung example ng two-tailed test na kung saan yung rejection region po natin ay magkabilaan. Ayan. So, mahati siya sa dalawa since symmetric po siya about the center. Ayan. So, yung critical value natin na naghihiwalay, and syempre, nandito sa left part is negative critical value at yung nandito naman is a positive critical value. Again, para makita po ito, gagamit tayo ng table ng distribution natin. And, yun ako mapapansin ninyo, ito tinuturo niya, ito yung ating test statistics o yung computed value. Yan. So, kung mapapansin nyo, nag-fall din po siya dito sa acceptance region na ibig sabihin, hindi po natin pwedeng i-reject yung ating null hypothesis. Okay? Ayan. So, ito na po yung last natin na key concepts in hypothesis testing, yung ating type 1 and type 2 errors. Ayan. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, in hypothesis testing, we make decisions about the null hypothesis. So, either we reject it or we accept it. And, of course, there are risks when we make decisions. So, meron pa rin probability that we will commit a wrong decision. So, meron tayong 4 na possible outcomes na. At meron tayong 2 correct decision. And, syempre, may 2 din tayo error. So, yung unang correct decision natin is kung i-reject natin yung false na null hypothesis. And yung second naman is kung inaccept natin o hindi natin i-reject yung ating true null hypothesis. Yung possible na error natin, yung type 1, is kung na-reject po natin yung true null hypothesis. Ito yung most common na error na na-encounter. Kaya minsan inuulit yung study o inuulit yung pag-compute ng data kasi error siya eh. Nireject mo yung true null hypothesis mo. Ayan. And next naman is, yung type 2 error natin is yung inaccept natin yung false null hypothesis. Possible din po ito naman. Okay? So, itong type 1 error, ang symbol po niya is alpha. At itong type 2 error naman po, ang symbol niya is beta. Ayan po siya. So, let's have some examples para makita natin ano ba yung mga example na situation na nakukumit natin itong mga errors na ito. So, let's try this. And if Sophia analyze the possibilities of Sophia's conclusion. So, yan yung apat na possibility ng kanyang conclusion o maging outcome ng kanyang, let's say, study. Identify if it is a type 1 error, type 2 error, or a correct decision. So, if Sophia finds out that her null hypothesis is true and she fails to reject it, then she commits a, syempre, ito po ay correct decision. Check na lang natin, correct decision po yan, na inaccept po niya yung true null hypothesis natin. Next, number 2, our null hypothesis is true and she rejects it. Ayan, so, nireject niya yung true null hypothesis natin. So, ibig sabihin, that will be our type 1 error. Okay? At next naman, na yung false null hypothesis natin, she fails to reject it. Ayan. So, hindi niya ni-reject yung false null hypothesis. So, ibig sabihin, error din po siya. Type 2 error. At of course, yung pinaka-last, yung false null hypothesis ay ni-reject niya, ibig sabihin that is a correct decision. Okay? Next example. Ayan. So, Brian is starting his own food cart business. And he is choosing cities where he will run his business. So, gusto niya humanap kung saan ba yung best na pagtatayuan ng kanyang food cart business. He wants to survey residents and test at 5% level of significance whether or not the demand is high enough to support his business before he applies for the necessary permits to operate in his selected city. He will only choose a city if there is strong evidence that the demand there is high enough. We can state the null hypothesis for his test as the demand is high enough. So first question, what would be the consequences of a type 1 error in this setting? Pag sinabi natin type 1 error, nire-reject po natin yung ating true null hypothesis. At sabi nga natin, yung null hypothesis po natin, the demand is high enough. Yan. So kung pag ni-reject po natin yan, hindi natin pinili yung lugar na yung demand po ay enough, ay high, ibig sabihin, doon po tayo makaka-commit ng type 1 error. Kasi ni-reject natin yung true null hypothesis natin. Okay? Next naman. Yan. So, what would be the consequences naman of type 2 error in this setting? Ayan. So, same lang din yung ating pagpipilian. So, kapag type 2 error, ibig sabihin, pinili niya yung lugar na kung saan hindi naman mataas ang demand. Diba? So, inaccept niya yung false na null hypothesis natin. Kasi ang true null hypothesis natin, mataas ang demand. Pero since mababa yung demand, so that is false. At inaccept natin yun. So that is a type 2 error. Ito po siya. He chooses a city where demand isn't actually high enough. Okay? Okay, next. So what is the probability of type 1 error? Sabi natin kanina, ang type 1 error po natin is alpha. Alpha po is our level of significance. Okay? So, doon sa problem, ang level of significance po natin is 0.05. So, ganun lang po yung ating mga possible na error. Kaya kapag na-encounter natin na ang naging outcome po ng study natin ay itong mga error na to, possible na merong mga factor na naka-apekto po nun. Kaya uulitin po natin siya. Pero mas magandang ulitin. Kasi 0.05 na nga lang, let's say 0.05 na nga lang na yung probability na ginamit natin. Tapos, yun pa yung naging outcome. So, ibig sabihin may mali talaga at kailangan nating iulitin po yung ating study o yung ating data. Okay? Ayan, so that will be all of the elements of hypothesis test. Thank you again, and make sure to hit the notification bell to get updated with our lessons. Bye!